I'm here to record a video review for the Haves and Have-Nots. I have no idea what season it is, but it's the second episode. I believe it's the third season. But anywho, so this week's episode, sorry, I'm still in the basement. Good lighting. I'll figure it out. Anyways, this week's episode started off at the crime scene. Once again, the police has knocked on the door, and Candace has to go answer the door. Meanwhile, Jeffrey is extremely nervous. Well, Candace goes to answer the door, and she takes off all of her clothes so that she can kind of distract the police officer. So when she opens it, the police officer is stuttering over his words. He can't even talk straight, and so he asks her to please put on some clothes, and she's like, "Oh, okay, let me get my robe." Meanwhile, Jeffrey is still extremely nervous, and so finally she goes back to the door. It basically came down to she has a nosy neighbor. The nosy neighbor happens to be the police officer's mom, and the car is not supposed to be parked on the other side of the road in front of her house, and she wants it to be moved. So, of course, that car is Quincy's car. So, Jeffrey, she goes inside, and she says, "Okay, I'll get them to move in." The police officer is like, "Okay, you have to move it now." So, she tries to get Jeffrey to help her get the keys, but Jeffrey is just acting like a complete punk. You scared to touch this man's bloody body, but you're the one that stabbed him to death. But, whatever. So, she reaches in there, gets the keys, gives them to Jeffrey, and is like, "Please go out there and move the car, please." Well, for some strange reason, Jeffrey is shaken up, and I'm saying for some strange reason because I don't understand why Candace couldn't go and move the car on her own. But maybe she was kind of protecting the house, making sure the police officer didn't come in the house while she was moving the car and see the body. Perhaps. So, anywho. So he goes outside to move the car. He couldn't get the car to start for the longest. He looks super nervous. He doesn't know how to act natural. I mean, I guess you want to go to jail. Whatever. So then he drives off, and he just keeps going. The police officer asks if he had been drinking. Candace says no, because then the police officer would have went after him. Then she makes up some lie that he's really distraught because he's sleeping. He was caught sleeping with his mom's boyfriend or something. Just some complete lie, just to kind of throw him off. Then she was trying to flirt with him, and he was saying he's happily married and all this stuff. And basically it wasn't working, but she was just buying Jeffrey time. Meanwhile, Jeffrey is driving this car that is not his. It's the car of a soon-to-be missing person. And he's drunk because, remember, Candace had him drink, which is not good. So he stops at a payphone to call Wyatt. Wyatt is waiting for somebody to show up at his house. He's super drunk, drinking. It's just a mess. So then Jeffrey is like, "I'm coming over to your house." Wyatt's like, "No, don't come." Jeffrey's like, "I'm coming anyway." Later on in the episode, Jeffrey continues to drive. That same police officer pulls him over, tried to do a sobriety test, and of course he failed. And then so he's putting him in the car to send him to jail. But we see on the preview for next week's episode, he's patting him down, and he was like, "Yes, I heard you were gay." And I'm like, "Oh no!" I really didn't expect that at all. So who knows what's going to happen with that? Yeah, my hair is sticking up at the back, and it's driving me insane. I need to get this done. But anyways, so back to the subject at hand, Haves and Have-Nots. We saw Veronica and Catherine in the jail, and Catherine is basically I don't know what's going on with Wyatt. He's so angry with us. The last time he was this angry, it was that summer that he was away at camp, and the priest kind of messed with him. And basically she was like, "You know who my father is. My father was ruthless, and I am his daughter, and I can be that same way, so I better not find out that anything happened to my son while he was in jail, because Jim told me that he would be safe." And Veronica's like, "I'm sure nothing happened." And she was like, "Well, they do rape people in jail." She's like, "Are you kidding me?" And she was like, "If anything happened, I don't know what I will do, but he will feel my wrath, just like that priest disappeared." So basically they got the priest killed. So Veronica's getting a little concerned, and Veronica's like, "Hey, calm down," because she knows Catherine will find out. If they get out of jail, Catherine will find out that Veronica had it set up for Wyatt to get raped, and she's probably going to come up missing. Meanwhile, Quincy's sister, she's talking to some people on the street corner, and they see the Criers and Harringtons get arrested on TV, and one of them says, "Hey, one of my boys is at her house waiting on her right now, and is gonna pop her as soon as she walk in the door." That was the setup that Jim did to like get her killed. That's the hit he put out on her. It's funny how everybody's connected. Anywho, so she's just like, Veronica, it's just like a catch-22 situation for her. Like, there's no like good ending for her, which is great because she's like a horrible person, but then again it's like, oh, we kind of need her in this story. But anyways, moving on to oh yeah, so the other part of the jail, the men in the jail, David Harrington, that's his name. So David and Jim Crier, they're like talking back and forth in the jail cell. Then all of a sudden the DA comes, and she needs to speak with what's his face, David, in private. He doesn't really want to go, but then they decide he has to go anyway, because of course, like, he's the inmate, she's the DA, you can't just tell her no. So she goes into a room with him. She tries to offer him full immunity if he will testify against Jim. And he's like, no, I'm loyal. Jim's my friend. She's like, you really think he's your friend? And then he's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And she's like, I just miss you so much. And why can't we just be together? And she's basically like throwing herself at him. So last week when Veronica said the waters run deep with her, that means there's like a history, there's a past, and we'll find out more about that story. But basically, like, she was really sad when he was in the house fire, and she knew like Veronica was the one that was trying to kill him. So like, she has like more of like a lust with him. Like, she must really like love him. Like, they have some type of history, and it was quite sad to watch her throw herself at him, but whatever. It, like, he even asked for full immunity for like him and his wife to testify against Jim, and then he thought about doing it, and he was like, no, because he's like loyal to a fault, just like he said. Both of these people, your wife doesn't have your best interest at heart, Jim definitely does it. If the tables were turned, Jim would have gotten full immunity for him and Catherine, really just him, to be honest, like, no questions asked. So whatever. So he's not going to take that, and Jim was like, are you stupid? Because I would have turned you in. But whatever. Last storyline, Benny and Hannah. So he finds her, he tries to call her, get her to come home. She won't do it. He finds her at the motel she's at. He tries to talk her into it. He says like his business is legit, the house is legit, and she was like, well, I want to know how she got the house. And he was like, okay, so what if she didn't get it with good money? Well, I know she didn't get it with good money. Well, Hannah, well, what's the problem then? Like, you know that she didn't get it with good money, so I mean, either way, like, like, that's gonna determine like if you move in or not. Like, you know it's not gonna be the answer you want, but you know that it's legit. But then she went as far as to say, I want to know how much blood we have on our hands. So, you know, maybe you could just like, since the house is paid off, perhaps you could just sell the house and then use the money you get from selling the house and then move elsewhere and then buy a better house. I mean, common sense, people, come on. But anyways, so she doesn't want to move in there. She's being very stubborn, but I guarantee you she is going to move in there, because on next week's episode, the social worker is going to be calling her. She's going to be telling her you cannot stay in a hotel. So anywho, the big cliffhanger at the end of the episode is Candace is like looking for the keys, or she's looking for something in her house, and I knew this was going to happen. I'm telling y'all, women's intuition. I knew this was going to happen. So she's like looking for the keys, and all of a sudden Quincy starts moving. You know, the whole episode I was thinking he been laying in the same spot forever. What if he is just simply knocked out or passed out because he lost a lot of blood and this dude is still alive? Like, would that be crazy? But then they wouldn't have a murder on their hands. But I'm like, oh man, now she's about to be stuck in the house with him by herself. But anyways, he goes to grab her leg, and I'm like, oh Jesus, because Jeffrey's not even there anymore. And I'm like, oh, this is getting so good. Like, I mean, this is like The Young and the Restless times 10, Black Edition. It is like, it's just getting good. Like, seriously, like, I really do look forward to it every Tuesday night. Kudos to Tyler Perry. And if you need some ideas for me, call me, okay? Because I love it. I love it. Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe. Please visit my blog. I'll have it posted down below. And let me know what you think.